Release the Kraken!
If you've accessed this video file, then you've unfortunately done one of three things. One, you have just discovered a terrifying Kraken and are attempting to save your life. Or two, you've made the gods angry and now you have to deal with their giant monster Kraken. Or three, you made a really bad deal with a squid man with which you are now cursed to be chased until death by a Kraken. And you're looking for a remedy. Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is there are some solutions you can take to possibly survive the Kraken. The bad news is your chances really are not good. Like really not good. But this guy can definitely help you understand what's going on with the Kraken in these universes and potentially survive a bit longer. First, in order to survive a Kraken attack, you need to understand what it actually is, and that all depends on what universe you're in. However, they do all seem to be very similar. Generally, we're talking about an enormous sea monster, very similar to a squid or an octopus. The Kraken is huge. Again, the exact magnitude of their size and sightings all depends on what universe they're in. So we're gonna start with the common universe. There's a good chance you're in that one right now. In the common universe, there are many legends of the terrifying Kraken, able to appear seemingly out of nowhere and gobble up entire ships and crew. They can all be traced back to the ancient Scandinavians. Perhaps the earliest description is from, okay, I'm not going to say this right, but it's Orvar Otter. Anyway, Orvar is a legendary hero who has many stories and songs written about him. The one we're concerned with, of course, is when he and his son encountered two massive beasts in the water. This was just off the coast of Norway. One day, as they were sailing, they both saw very clearly these giant monsters and were completely terrified by their size and horrid appearance. Orvar reported that the great sea monsters could swallow entire ships and their crew, as well as whales and anything else that was around. The Kraken was so dangerous and widely regarded that it made its appearance on ancient sea maps by the famous Swedish writer Olaus Magnus. His famous map, the Carta Marina, contains several images of giant sea monsters to be wary of. Many people argue that those are meant to represent the Kraken. Some of these earlier descriptions would include things we definitely don't see in a Kraken today. This then leads us to Hans Egede. Yeah, I'm not German. We're just gonna call him Hans. Hans is the first person to bring us the actual name of this monstrous creature we know in so many universes. Hans had many Norwegian informants that were able to give him multiple accounts of the Kraken that he detailed, including what they called it, Kraken.
Always heard it said Kraken.
Oh, with a long A?
Ah,
No. Kraken's how it's pronounced in the original Scandinavian.
They detailed the Kraken's body was several miles in length, and upon its surfacing, it had many heads and a number of claws. A little different from a giant cephalopod. Today, the common universe has a pretty good idea of what a Kraken actually looks like. Now, some people think in the common universe that these descriptions of the Kraken are just describing a giant squid and that it's not an enormous sea monster. But why do so many report entire ships getting swallowed? And why are so many independent reports so eerily similar? Also, we have some instructions on how to actually find it. The story goes that if you row or sail out a few miles off the coast of Norway on a hot summer's day with calm winds and waters in a spot that would normally be about 80 to 100 fathoms deep, but on this day it's about 20 to 30 fathoms, so it's way more shallow, then you unfortunately have a Kraken on the sea floor. It's the Kraken laying in wait, screwing up all your measurements, and attempting to attract any and all prey, usually large fish and whales. But sometimes it can be your ship. When it rises out of the water, the first things that you'll notice are massive tentacles getting thicker at the bottom, rising as tall as the ship's mast. The body of the Kraken appears as a bunch of little islands clumped together for about a mile in circumference. After the Kraken has risen, and it has remained above for a short while, it will suddenly crash back into the ocean, leaving the last great danger, a gigantic suction vortex, commonly referred to as a massive whirlpool. Now, I know this can be quite disturbing, especially if the Kraken in the common universe has rid its tentacles, but surviving the encounter in the common universe has some great benefits. Those benefits being your best chance to survive, actually, most likely. We'll get to those steps in just a moment, but first we should address the whole problem of angering a god. If you've entered the Titan universe, you should be careful not to outright disrespect a god. Unfortunately, you can be in trouble with the gods even if you personally had nothing to do with disrespect or outright defiance. If you have either defied the gods or witnessed others doing so, you can be assured that they are not too happy. If they're not so happy, then the gods may decide to send a Kraken to wipe out the entire defiant city, or even just everyone, just because. Okay, so what's different with this Kraken versus in the common universe? Well, several things. We actually know the origin of this one. This Kraken was born from the titans Oceanus and Seto, who are both entities of the sea. Oceanus being the river around the entire earth, Seto the titan of sea monsters, essentially. Of course, one of the commonalities between this Kraken and ones from the other universes is that it is enormous, with giant tentacles. But there are some differences. Like this one has a face and really big teeth. This one also has arms, which is a bit of a deviation from the other more standard descriptions that we have of Krakens in other universes, but it it does match up with some of those other descriptions in the common universe of a Kraken having claws. Okay, to survive this kind of Kraken, this one's a bit straightforward. It's pretty easy, in both a good and a bad way. The good way is that you need to be a demigod to survive and win. The bad way is that if you're not a demigod, you will not survive. Well, unless you can find a demigod to save you. So operating under the assumption that you're in this universe as a demigod, the survival of this Titan is simple. If the Kraken comes after you, then you can simply fly away on your Pegasus. And there's more. You can completely stop this Kraken. All you have to do is
Go kill Medusa.
I should note that this is not a guide on finding and killing Medusa. That is a completely different matter. Anyway, after you've killed Medusa, use her head to turn the monstrous Kraken into stone. It is just that easy, and the day is saved. Much easier to survive in this universe, as long as you're a demigod, versus the common or pirates universes. Ah, yes, the pirates.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
If you're in the Pirates of the Caribbean universe, then the Kraken that exists here is a much bigger problem. Well, usually it's actually not that big of a problem unless you've been marked, and that's not good. The Kraken will come for you. You also do not have the option of turning it into a stone with the Medusa head in this universe. This one is also much closer to the appearance of the Kraken in the common universe, with just more, teeth. Yeah, that's a lot of teeth. This Kraken also behaves much like what has been described in the common universe, with a bit of a caveat. It is summoned and controlled by the squid-faced man, Davy Jones himself. Davy Jones wields some mysterious magic that allows him to do many things, one of them being he can pseudo-control the Kraken. So what you don't want to do is make a deal with Davy Jones, and you certainly don't want to make a deal with Davy Jones and then break that deal. This would invariably lead to Davy Jones getting mad and sending you the black spot. What is the black spot? Well, that is probably the worst thing that could happen to you. In this universe, it means that you're cursed and marked for death, and if it comes from Davy Jones, it appears as decaying flesh on your hand. The important thing to note here is that the curse mark on your hand acts as a beacon for the Kraken, and it will hunt you down until it consumes you. Any ocean, anywhere. Now, there is a way to try and clear up this whole misunderstanding, of course, and that is to try to work out a deal with Davy Jones himself. The problem with this technique is that it has an incredibly small chance of success, and will still likely end up with you being marked for death by the Kraken. So, how do you survive a Kraken attack in this universe? The first thing you should do is sail away as fast as possible. Unfortunately, in this universe, the Kraken will likely catch you, because he's essentially an attack dog by Davy Jones. So, how can you survive that? Well, there's a few things to note. If the tentacles are raising out on the sides of the vessel, but haven't yet made contact with the ship, there's still time for you to speed away. If that fails, and the tendrils have started latching onto the ship, then the ship will likely be taken into the water. You can, however, delay the inevitable by blasting those tentacles with cannons or explosives, but this will only delay the attack and make the Kraken angry. It is possible to make an escape attempt during this delay, but you will likely need to abandon your main vessel. When the Kraken does return, the Kraken will eat and destroy as much of the ship and eat as many people as it can find. So if you couldn't get away during the blast, what you do is you get up as high on the mast as possible, getting as much distance physically from the tentacles searching for you, and wait. You do not want to try and get in the fight with the tendrils directly. Each one of those slimy arms can essentially see through touch, and as soon as you stab or shoot one, they will grab onto you and plunge you into the depths, and horrifically,
Into its mouth.
so, stay up high on the mast and wait for the ship to be destroyed. I know this is not an optimal situation, and it looks grim, but trust me, this is your best chance to not get eaten. Once the ship is destroyed, and the mast is falling towards the water, dive in the water as far away from the Kraken as possible, and hope that you're lucky enough to find some floating debris, and use that to float away. Seeing as how all of this is in the Pirates universe, Davy Jones is likely nearby, and if you can swim or float over to his vessel, then you will be free from the Kraken, because again, the Kraken obeys Davy Jones, and will not eat his ship or crew. Just watch out for Davy Jones, because he might want to kill you if he sees you. So that's how you survive in the Pirates universe if you're a regular bystander. If you're marked in that universe, and your scheming deals don't work with Davy Jones, then the only thing left to do is to subscribe, and go out swinging. Maybe there's more options for you in the afterlife. So now that we've covered those options in the Pirates and Titan universes, how do you survive in the common universe? If you find yourself in this emergency situation in the common universe, then here's what you have to do. First, turn your ship around immediately. Face away from the Kraken. This should help give you some distance and more time to react, similar to the Pirates. Second, look, I realize the intensity of all this could be getting to you at this point, so I really need you to not panic. It's easy to get disoriented through all this, but stay focused and keep your wits about you. You can make it out of this. Third, if you're in the modern era of the common universe,
Shoot it with missiles.
that should take care of it. But if you've encountered a Kraken and you're looking at this guide, then you likely don't have missiles, and you're in a civilian craft, or you're in an older period in the common universe. So, adjust your sails, try and turn your sails to catch the wind, which will help you move away from the Kraken much faster. 4, don't get caught in its tentacles. If you're grabbed by a tentacle, stab or shoot it to try and wiggle go free. If your ship is caught by a tentacle, you may have to fight those as well. But just like was mentioned with pirates, the tendrils could find you that way, and you may want to avoid touching them if at all possible. 5. Don't drop the anchor or raise the sails. You want to get away, not be a sitting duck. 6. Maneuver towards land or the shallows to give your vessel the best tactical advantage. The Kraken is powerful only in deep waters, so get to the shallows as quickly as possible. 7. Okay, look, there's lots of reports of people just seeing a Kraken and getting away. But if the tendrils are on your ship, I'm sorry, but you might not actually be able to get away. If the tendrils are already there, just like in Pirates, it's going to go under. You'll want to employ the same techniques mentioned in the Pirates universe. Get as high as possible, dive off into the water when the ship is broken, and try to drift on debris. And finally, 8. The devastating whirlpool. You need to try and swim and get as far away from the whirlpool as possible. Otherwise, you'll be dragged to the bottom of the ocean. You may not get eaten, but you'll surely drown. If you can do all that, well, then congratulations. You survived! And there you have it. Most situations are inescapable unless you have special abilities, magic, or just an insane amount of luck. If you know someone in this kind of emergency situation, please share this video file with them. Hopefully they can get out too. Good luck, everyone.